Hi, so I'm here with another episode of the 4.0 Impact Series. Today I am with Dr. Sebastian Seemann, who is co-founder and CTO of a green sustainable aviation company based down in Munich called VAERIDION, who are pioneering the transition to, as I say, green aviation. But look, Sebastian, look, thank you very much for jumping on this. It's it's appreciated on a Friday morning.
Thank you so much, Leighton, for the kind introduction, and thanks for having us in the podcast.
Absolutely. Look, maybe we should just jump into it, and I would ask you, as I do with everyone we interview, if you could give us a brief introduction as to yourself, a little bit of background as to how you sort of started, and I suppose that will lead nicely into the genesis of VAERIDION. How VAERIDION started.
Absolutely. VAERIDION is a German startup that is going to electrify aviation before the end of the decade. It was founded by Ivor van Dartel, who is the CEO, and myself back in 2021. We entered operation in 2022, just a few months later, after we had secured our first financing, and meanwhile grew into a team of more than 20 excellent employees. And as you said, we are based in the Munich ecosystem, which is an amazing place, not to say the best place, put together the academics, the industrial ecosystem, the talents, in the middle of Europe.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So give us a bit more insight into, because how these things tend to work is you've identified a gap in the market, or you've identified an opportunity, and then you've created a business around that opportunity. So, obviously this is, this conversation is climate related, as 4.0 very much look to showcase or shine a light on, on early stage climate ventures. So, look, please go into some detail about the climate issue that you've identified, and I guess VAERIDION's solution to said climate issue.
For the first time in history, Leighton, aviation has to change when it comes to the sustainability topic, and it has to change massively. We know that regarding the climate crisis and regarding the greenhouse gas emissions, everything has to change. So our whole life has to change. Mobility as a whole must change to the better a lot, and aviation must contribute. There have been regulatory targets set. If we look at Europe, the Green Deal that's going to kick in 2030, imposing 55% reduction of emissions on everyone, on every industry as well, and even more strict, the Klimaschutzgesetz in Germany, which raises that to even 65% emissions by 2030. And we believe that the fastest contribution that we can make to improving aviation is electrification. So electrifying those segments of aviation that can be electrified. Not going to be everything, we know that. So short haul flights can be electrified. Long haul flights are not going to be electrified ever. But the short haul topic is something that you just need to pick on. And we've seen in our previous experience that many players in the industry kind of have an awareness, have more of an awareness, also have a willingness to change. However, there are structures existing, there are business cases existing, there are portfolios existing. So this is limited. So we decided, we now, having experience from the industry, having experience from Airbus, for example, many years, we create this startup. We create something from scratch, and this is true for both, for the company, but also for the product, that is fully electric and is going to make a change, really the fastest way possible in aviation.
Okay. So so what essentially you've done is your use case is for short haul internal flights or short haul flights with a view to looking to completely like electrify the fleet.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We are currently designing a battery electric airplane that is capable of transporting up to 9 passengers. It's going to fly with pilots, so there are additional 2 seats for pilots in the cockpit. It's not an autonomous airplane, and this type of airplane can do a travel distance of up to 500 kilometers,
Right.
which it is going to do between small airports all over the places, all over Europe. And this is possible because it is a very, very energy efficient airplane. When you fly battery electric, of course, because of the inherently lower energy density compared to any hydrocarbons, which the people know, the technical people know, is going to stay there forever. You have to find a solution which is the most energy efficient vehicle that you can actually invent and design and manufacture. And this is what we're currently working on. It's an airplane. It has long wings. It is pretty much glider or motor glider inspired, and it has batteries built in instead of a tank.
Understood. And you say the range is in the region of 500 kilometers.
That's correct. And when you say 500 kilometers, the range that you look at always it always depends on what you're looking at. What the people are interested in and the operators are interested in is the actual range they can fly between two city pairs.
Yeah.
So
okay.
between a departure and a destination airfield or airport. Of course, what you have to design for in real life, what the engineers do is they also design for reserves. So every aircraft needs to have reserves to be able to fly to an alternate airport in case the weather is bad or there is a runway obstructed. So this is now getting into the details, but what is important is that this can never be neglected. This has to be designed for, and this is, in our case, also designed for not only flying to the alternate, also waiting there in the air for more 45 minutes.
Right.
But the range that is available really to calculate, to design for, also to check. We have an app, you can check it in the app. It's a little bit of a gimmick, is up to 500 kilometers.
Okay, it's impressive. So so in terms of from a like regional point to point, I massively understand the the use case. Look, what Sebastian, what have some of the challenges been as an early stage startup, which essentially you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but you kind of are reinventing the wheel. So you've invented a product or you've invented a concept, and you're also inventing the solution to that. And there's been other companies that have done similar things. We've talked about it before, like Volocopter, Lilium, two, off the top of the head. But what have been the key challenges you've found over the over the journey so far?
Thanks for asking. It's a brilliant question. I have to think about that. First of all, you're totally right. There are many players in the ecosystem. Luckily, this is not an empty field anymore, and it's not since quite some years. And these companies that you've mentioned are great companies. They are pioneers in aviation. What we think is the third revolution in aviation after motorized flight, after really jet engines, which democratized pretty much aviation for everyone. And now we're in the sustainability revolution. We need to get it greener. These companies also work on getting it greener. They work on battery electric. Other companies work on other types of sustainable solutions. So indeed, this is it has been a challenge to explain to the stakeholders, also the shareholders, that the approach we are following actually is a different approach. We focus on very conventional aircraft.
Okay.
We focus on something that is that has its infrastructure already built. So all the airports that we need is existing, and
Right.
also we focus on a technology that is developed. You see it driving around in the cars. So
Mhm.
of course there is a step to make. There is the the qualification of these batteries to be made for aviation purposes. It
Mhm.
has to be safe, it has to be reliable, and still it has to be lightweight and efficient. But it is very much different. And to explain this to the stakeholders is one of the challenges we had at the very beginning. And I would say if you don't count the challenge of setting up a company from scratch,
Which
never
comes with
having
its own challenges.
never yeah never having this done before. The other next challenge actually was convincing people to be brave enough to join this company. And I believe that the last year was extremely successful in getting these people on the board, and not just getting people on the board, but getting those people on the board that we now have in the team, because this is just a constitution, a team of brilliant individuals that I can tell you from the inside um, work perfectly as a team together. So it's a great inspirational attitude, and it makes so much appetite for more.
Yeah, look, the
So
importance of yeah, having the, for want of a better term, excuse the cliche, but having the right people on board early on is fundamental in the success of an early stage business. And look, and I could imagine that it represents a really exciting, challenging prospect, right? You guys are doing a lot of things that have never really been done. So anyone that's hugely ambitious and motivated to to disrupt and to completely kind of create like a new lane, like a new channel would be very much infused by the journey you guys are on.
yeah, what we want to achieve, Leighton, is we want to not only build an airplane, we want to offer to the public and to the societies a new mode of transport.
Mm-hmm.
And this new mode of transport is in the air. People know flying airplanes for long haul travels and for feeder flights, for going into holidays. They typically don't, for the vast majority of the people, they don't really use it in their everyday lives. Also because short haul travel and decentralized travel, there is no market, there is no offer, and to charge an airplane is too expensive. So no one knows it for today. But we think that um, in the future, especially battery electric planes will play an important role in the everyday and especially the business life of the people, to really have it as a mode of transport in the mobility. And why is that? Because people, most of the travels are below 500 kilometers actually, and most
Right.
people do them by their car. And they do them by their car because there is no other mode of transport really available that is compatible with that. So you have less and less flights, which I think when it comes to combustion flights is correct, is good. So you see these flights decreasing and being abandoned more and more. Look into France, they abandon flights if there is a high-speed train connection. Mm, and most people also don't go between the big cities, but they go from where they live to where they need to go on that day. And those two may be small cities. And these two small cities very likely have an airport. So what we are going to offer is a new mode of mobility that they didn't consider before, and they also didn't have before, that is going to be more sustainable, but is not only more sustainable, it's also more time efficient, because these direct routes that of course you will serve by some ground-based vehicles, by maybe a small bus, hopefully it's electrified, that also picks you up at your destination and bringing you to the actual destination you're going to. is, as we see in our models that we have, in the vast majority of the cases, is also time saving, and that is a big proposition to the people, to the societies, to displace and also be back from your travel on the very same day and be back for dinner with your family. And we think overall, adding also the cost advantage, is something that is such a big opportunity to, apart from the fact that it's going to be sustainable, is what we absolutely want to realize.
Yeah, you make you make a really good point on you know, the comparison to France, for instance, with the, you know, the reduction or the banning of internal flights based on the fact that but France have got such a good train network, and if there is an option of a high-speed train, you know, that they're trying to divert people to take that option because it's more environmentally friendly, but that isn't always possible. You know, and you hit on that. You know, if you live in the major cities, they're very, very well connected, but if you live more rural, you know, you might have to then get a train or a car or a coach to get to a major city. And you're right, it's a time thing. And you know, and especially if especially if it's aimed at, you know, like corporates, for instance, you know, obviously time is a constraint that they take into consideration when they make any decision. So the ability to, you know, to jump on an electrified plane, fly 300 kilometers, do what you need to do and fly back, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, the opportunities there are endless. So I think it's important that you mentioned it, but it's important that if there is a coach that takes you to the airport, it's important that that would be electrified, right? And then, you know, and again, there's a lot of you know, really interesting, inspiring companies that are kind of, you know, that are coming up with electrified transport in terms of coaches and buses and whatnot. So
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, I think this is totally correct, and it's just one element to address, making sure that we answer the question as a whole when it comes to how to deal with energy and how to deal with resources.
Yeah.
So the network of airports all over Europe is just huge. In Germany alone, we have 350 airports that are actually suitable for us. All over Europe, we have 3,500. So it's not a question about really the network of available infrastructure. It's a matter of also how to deal with the resources. And the advantage of this infrastructure is it doesn't require many additional resources because it's already there.
Yep.
So these airports exist. They don't need additional roads. They don't need additional rails. They don't need also vertiports, to be fair. They are there, and the whole ecosystem is then depending on the energy available, and the energy available ideally is, of course, produced by sustainable sources. So this could be wind, this could be solar, this could be water. And this energy also has to be, first of all, transported to where it's needed. And the big advantage, the big benefit of that aerial infrastructure is you only need it at the airports.
Yep.
So the airplane doesn't do a stopover at a gas station and have to be refueled all over, but it's very centralized, it's very local. And luckily also the airport operators think that way, think in that direction already. So you find more and more airports that either have already implemented a solar park or are currently planning implementing a solar park, also for economical reasons. So they want to earn money with it, or at least be less dependent on the grid and its price fluctuations, to produce their own local energy. And this energy, ideally, because it's obviously electric energy, could be transformed into, or not even be transformed, it can stay electric energy, can be used to recharge these airplanes really at the airport. And all the excess energy they have, they use for whatever they want to and need to use it for the terminal, for energy, for possibly other sources of what you call sustainable mobility, like maybe hydrogen generation, and considering feeding it back in the grid. So this whole ecosystem needs to think the same way, and then also then in its whole chain is a sustainable solution, we believe.
Understood. Look, I think, and look, thanks for such an in-depth explanation around that, because I'll be honest, when you were saying it, there's a few things that I thought, wow, I've not really thought of that. So it's quite thought-provoking. I suppose my last thing is, and I'm thinking more about the audience, because this goes out, and you know, the majority of the people that watch this are early stage founders, you know, entrepreneurs, maybe entrepreneurs that are thinking, or people that are thinking about starting. So just give us a bit of an overview of the story so far. So you had a seed raise last year. I mean, there's a saying, always be raising or always be funding. So you're currently going through, I guess you've got your eyes on what, Series A, or like another round of seed. You know, where are you guys at the moment?
Yeah, that's correct. We have managed to have a seed round last year, and of course we have a really sound business plan associated with that seed round. So we exactly know what our roadmap is, our remaining roadmap for the team we've now hired. Luckily, we are executing according to plan,
Right.
or even a bit better. And we are indeed currently in the say preparing the next fundraising. We target a Series A next year.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's about where we stand in terms of funding.
So in terms of from a funding, so the products are in development. So what will it be used for? Is it R&D? Is it expansion? Is it both? I imagine it's a combination of both.
That's a brilliant question. Thank you, Leighton. So this phase at the moment is very much a technology phase, and this is what we've also dedicated the seed funding for. So the team I'm speaking of is very much a technology development team, and it ends by demonstrating key elements of our technology.
Right.
And we are not yet very much an aircraft development organization. This is what we're going to transform into after basically in the next phase. What we're doing now is we focus on basically two things. And one thing is what I said with a few words at the beginning: developing a battery for airplanes, for the integration in the primary structure of the airplane. So in our case, it's the wings. And this battery has to be safe. It must not burn, obviously, because no one can park the airplane on the side and just step out. It has to be safe. It has to be also really reliable. It has to be hopefully long living. And I believe in our case, it's going to be a long living battery because we treat it nicely. So we have a flight profile that is what a battery wants.
Okay.
It's not very extreme. It doesn't have high discharge rates, as you say, in engineering, and so the battery can live long, much longer than in very power demanding applications.
Okay.
And this is what we currently develop, and we're going to demonstrate. And we believe, also really deeply believe, that this is also what you want to do as a technical company that is focusing on electric propulsion, because this is what makes the difference in aviation. The remainder of the airplane is a conventional airplane, and there is no question it can be developed. It just has to be developed. But like the car manufacturers made the experience, is something that where the analogy really works out very, very well, is the solution is not building a battery and putting it into the trunk of the car, but the solution is designing a battery, and then the optimal battery, really at the bottom of the car in this case, and building the car around it. And this is what we do as well. We design the battery in the wing and build the aircraft around it, of course, for being able to transport passengers in the most comfortable and safe way. So this is what we do in this current phase. And the second part is we design the propulsion system, which is spinning the propeller.
Yep.
This also has some innovation degree in it. And making sure as a third key activity that all this fits into an aircraft concept. So it's not just standalone, but it is very, very much integrated with that aircraft concept that we're looking into. And then and this is what the seed phase is.
Right.
Afterwards, we're going to make it big, to build a team, to make a huge organization out of it, which is an aircraft development organization, and go full speed towards development and certification. Whereas certification is an important thing that we already focus on. So we always make sure every day that what we do, what we decide is going to be certifiable.
Right. So it's in summary, it is focusing on rigorously on getting the tech right, in this stage, because then once the tech's right, the tech is ultimately the foundation of what you'll be then building on in terms of when you scale and when you expand. So look very interesting, very in-depth conversation. So look, thank you very much for that. Look, interested on seeing, or interested, should I say, in seeing what the journey looks like for the next, 12, 18, 18 months, 2 years, especially when you get the Series A, because that stage is when it's going to grow exponentially. And looking forward to seeing you guys represented at the Up and Coming Impact Festival as well, in Frankfurt in next week. Actually, I was going to say, wow, time flies. Again, excuse the pun. So, look, Sebastian, thank you very much for agreeing to jump on this and giving your take on the story so far at AERIDION. It's a really exciting time and a really exciting sector. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leighton, for giving us the opportunity to talking, and all the best for you as well.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. All right, well, look, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.